Hey everyone, Amy Walsh from the Bureau of Tactical Imagination, coming to you right now from my local neighborhood food co-op. Hopefully it's okay for me to be doing this in here. I guess we'll see. Um, I am doing another question and answer session right now, and I want to let you know I am loving doing these Q&As so much. It feels easy for me, it feels fun and creative for me, and it feels like it's helpful to the people whose questions I answer. So if you have any questions about creative process in your business, building a brand culture in your business, and I think of brands as a cultural kind of framework for your business. If you have questions about marketing, if you have questions about visual storytelling, about content marketing on social media, anything like that, whatever's been sticking in your craw that you can't seem to figure out, ask me a question. So I encourage you to get on my email list. You can always reply to my emails with questions, and you can do that over at amywalsh.net. Walsh is W-A-L-S-H. Or you can just put a question in a comment of any of these videos. I'm reading the comments and responding, so just fire away. Okay, today's question is from Sheri Guyse. Sheri Guyse has a coaching business, and the name of her business is Big Bravely, which is one of my favorite names ever. Such a good job with the name. And she has a two-part frustration. Part A, never really quite knowing how to talk about what it is I do to people out in the world. So if I meet someone at a party, etc. So I'm confident that 80 or 90% of the folks I meet could use my services. I also don't love my title. I'm way more than a life coach, but I use it because nothing better has happened. So the second part of the question is, and these are the two things that kind of both contribute to her not going totally all in on her marketing and branding, like making the decisions that she needs to make to go forward with confidence. I hope I'm getting that right, Sheri. That's what I got from this. Second piece is designing the business offerings. So designing business offerings that avoid shallow, douchey, and trite, while also not taking on too much. Coaching, podcasts, groups, courses. I feel like I'm assembling a puzzle with 3 times too many pieces and no reference photo. I can relate to that feeling. That's a really common building a business or any creative project feeling. So maybe my question is, how do I tell people who I am and what I do succinctly when my work is rich, dynamic, and deeply healing? Okay. This is such a juicy two-part question because these are things that so many of us struggle with. And the biggest one that I hear so many people struggle with is there's something about marketing and branding that makes us feel like we have to choose how to share ourselves. And when we do that, we're leaving out all this other stuff that's important. So I want to address that because that can be really confusing for us, right? So first of all, this party, meeting someone at a party, what do you say issue? I want you to stop thinking about that as a time that you have to say something that somehow does justice to all of the complexity and the depth of who you are and what your work is. Like, just forget about that. Think about that moment as a moment to say something that invites curiosity and engagement from the person you're talking to. And one way you can do that is share your heart a little bit, share something that shows something about the ethos or the vision or the why of your work without going into any other detail. So a good example of this is a couple of different phrases that Seth Godin uses a lot. Seth Godin, the marketing expert, I don't know if he uses these when someone asks him at a party. I've just heard him use these similar phrases over and over, and I think they would be amazing party lines if somebody asked him what he does. One of them is, I help make things better by helping people make better things. I mean, how great is that? Make things better by making better things. And the other one he says is, what is it? Making things that matter for people who care, or helping people who care make things that matter, or spread ideas that matter. Help people who care spread ideas that matter. something like that. You can look it up. What I love about both of those as potential party lines, you know, meeting people, introductory lines, is that they're meaningful and they inspire. Like if someone said that to me, I would be like, tell me more. That sounds really interesting. That sounds like something I would want to get behind too. And then the conversation begins and off you go. And then you can be real. You can establish a real relationship. Someone says, well, what does that mean? And you could say, well, right now, here's what I'm experimenting with. And I use it under this label life coach. And I think about it in, you know, in these ways that are kind of different than that label. And then there goes the relationship off and running. So hopefully that helps there. And then I want to speak to the business offering piece, which then speaks back to the marketing piece. So now we're going to kind of cycle between these two things. So I notice in your question, you're putting these kind of two things opposite each other when you're talking about your business model. One is shallow, douchey, and trite. And then the other side is taking on too much, coaching podcast group courses. And it looks like the dichotomy in your mind is that if it's really simple, it's dumbed down, or it's manipulative, or it's yucky, or it's, you know, trendy. And if you go ahead and try to let it be as complex as it is, then you're taking on too much, right? And you would be. So I want to challenge that dichotomy completely. The most complex and substantial and depthful and rich and beautiful things often need to be created and delivered in a container of utmost simplicity and focus. These two things are not in conflict. In fact, they need each other. And I think about it like I think of an artist's studio. Like you need a container or really good prompts. Like think of a writing prompt like a haiku. You need a simple container that eliminates a whole bunch of other choices so that you can go for the infinite inside of it. So, and this is true for your people who are observing you and your brand and considering working with you. When you have a million things going on and you're trying to say everything at once and you're trying to show everything at once because you're afraid of being misunderstood, you're afraid that people will see something too simple and that won't be enough. Lots of little mindset things in here. You're creating a culture of confusion, too many choices, and chaos for people, right? So here are a few little guidelines for thinking about that top level introduction for people to your work. One is simplify your business model as much as you can. Only offer as many things as fit together nicely to make a good financial mechanism for running your business and for creating programs that meet people at, you know, the stages that they're in, the people who are in your sort of ideal market, right? And then on your top level communication to the world about what those offers are, keep your message really simple and let that very first message be about the result that the offer is going to bring, like on the most concrete terms, because those kind of concrete immediate results that we want or need, even if it's not a hard result, like I need 500 new social media followers, it might be something that has to do with someone's personal healing or liberation, right? But articulate a result that people are likely to get, and know it's going to be the tip of the iceberg compared to what they're really going to get in the program, right? But it's that result that operates kind of like that thing at the party that wakes someone up and say, oh, I need that, tell me more. And that's when you can start to offer more and more and more information. So I want you to look at how and why that feels scary, to not let everyone see the whole picture right up front. And my sense is that there's probably something there about like, is this enough? Am I enough? If they don't see this entire picture right away. People know there's more to it. People always know there's more to it. Okay, so another piece of this is, while your offerings and your top level first hit marketing for people are simplified and focused and focus on one result, limit the choices people have to make, stuff like that. That's when you're doing all of your brand culture building around it. It's the brand culture building around these things that create an environment where people can feel the energy of something happening that's really evocative to them, right? This is where you commit 100% to doing forms of marketing and forms of branding, of communicating out in the world that are enlivening and creative for you, that help you develop your body of work in a public way as an evolving body of work that just supports and surrounds this offer. So that's where you might have a podcast, or you might have a YouTube channel, or you might get really super geeked out on Instagram, or you might be blogging. But I want you to pick a way of communicating, or a couple ways of communicating that are super aligned with how you like to communicate, and allow you to keep creating with the work that you do most brilliantly with your clients and with your people. And it just has to be fun for you. It's not going to feel fun every single time. You're not always going to want to do it. But as a whole, the project is going to feel like something you want to be engaged in, right? And you get to do that while remaining responsive and sensitive to your audience and really communicating with them while you do it. So it becomes like a collaboration, okay? And that, I think, has such a stance of respect in it for your audience, that that's a place where you get to show up fully. And some of that might sound like sales and marketing language, and a lot of it won't. Like, you know, it doesn't have to all be with a sales call to action. But passion project gets to support the sales project, right? So then when people come to your offer, they're like, oh, this is an offer that just promises this result. But I know, since this heart and this mind is offering it, that it's going to be so much more than that. I can feel it. And this has been true for me. You know, like the Visionary Syndicate that I'm marketing all the time is about becoming a creative director of your own work and building a brand, right? Doing your brand or your rebrand. But that's not why people take it. I mean, that they take it because they want that result, but they take it from me because they've seen me show up geeking out and creating in all these ways, and not doing it perfectly and not always being consistent, but there's something they like about the spirit in which I show up when I can remember to follow my own advice that I'm giving you right now. So, and I'm hearing some, like, maybe some inner demons duking it out for you in here. And my hunch is that you need to believe more in yourself. So it sounds like you really believe in the work. But your opening questions is a lot about what you should be doing and kind of outward focused questions. But the thing is, you're a creator. Like, you've created this beautiful way of working with people that you trial and errored your way to, that has profound results for people. You know, from what you said later in the email that I didn't read, you know, I'm hearing that there's been a long road to get where you are. If you're creative enough and resourceful enough and inventive enough to learn your way into that, you can trust yourself here to create a structure for your offerings and a culture of rich content around them on your terms, while staying connected to your people, and let go of a whole bunch of that other should stuff. Okay? So I hope this is helpful, and stay in touch about how it's going. And I know you're going to be in the Visionary Syndicate soon, so this is a place where you're going to get support around this all year. I'd love to continue helping you simplify and focus, and then ask, what does this brand culture really mean? That's going to show people the real spirit and heart of the work that you do. Okay, good luck.